What's up, everyone? This is the Tesla Beat 119th episode. Can't believe it. Thank you for bearing with us. I was on my way back from Austin. I know Brian was out there, so maybe he'll be joining us. I know he might be running a little bit late, but we'll see. But Joe and Hans, how are you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Another
Feel
busy Tesla
well
week.
informed. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And then quick shout out to our friends over at Insta360, utilizing that link 2C as I move from side to side. It's following me around. Just a great.
Nope, it didn't. No, crap.
It's centered. But yeah, just shout out to them. The link is in YouTube if you want to go check out their products, like their 360 cameras. But guys, what an amazing day yesterday, right? I mean, we had the annual shareholder meeting, and I think let's just we'll hit on the stock. Obviously, when anything, when dimes are dropped, the stock always has to drop. So it's just part of the MO. So it was like 454 last week. It's 434, and the stock is up still 15% year to date. But still exciting.
A lot of blood in the market though too this week.
Yeah.
So not entirely a sell the news, just because of the event.
Well, who wants to kick us off? Just like, what are your thoughts? Obviously I can, you guys can hit on a couple things and then I can give maybe like the point of view from like attending and experiencing it. But what were your guys' like big takeaways from yesterday?
Go ahead, Hans.
It was a good event. I would say a lot of the things that were spoken about were things that we really already had a pretty good handle on. So there wasn't like a ton of new information, but then the things that he did kind of reveal that were more more new information were pretty monumental. Especially the announcement around wanting to potentially set up a Terra factory to fabricate chips. This is reminiscent of saying, hey, we need to set up a battery plant in Nevada, and we would like for that battery plant to produce as many batteries as the entire world produces today. That's kind of on the order of the type of announcement that was. And just for people to have a point of reference, when he was talking about doing potentially up to 1 million and then eventually even more than 1 million wafer starts per month, TSMC today does about 1.3 million wafer starts per month. And so this kind of medium term target that he's talking about is on par with as much chip production as TSMC does currently, which is just absolutely insane. And of course, all of that to support a future powered by AI, humanoid robots, cars, and potentially even data centers. I don't know how much of all of that chip production he is talking about wanting to put into space. He also has mentioned recently wanting to have up to 100 gigawatts worth of compute in space for SpaceX. So I don't know if those two things are connected together or not. But yeah, those were some like the big mind-blowing scale takeaways that I think may have slipped by some people, and still just trying to wrap my head around that. I am also a little bit skeptical on the timelines for Optimus still. Of course, we haven't seen V3 yet. Maybe they've made some huge architectural breakthroughs. I hope that they have. But yeah, it's a big hard problem that we're staring down the barrel of for the humanoid, the Optimus project. And I think we're going to be in for some interesting times.
No, yeah, agreed. I will tell you that we did get a hint of V3. They were assembling it. The shoulders are way different, vastly different than previous models. I noticed that right away in the way they attached the upper plate, the chest plate. But I will say that the meeting, it seemed good vibes overall. Of course, I think Elon does protest too much sometimes with some of the things he was saying, but I think that overall, like, he just felt good, and the path forward is very clear. You can tell, like, people are like, you can tell he knows, he has a plan for it. I'm curious, like you are, Hans, about, you know, how they can pull this off with Optimus. But from what I've seen, even some of the, like, the figure one and the Unitree bot, like it's not that difficult in for from a basic standpoint before you get to the hands. And we already know that they worked on the hands, and we already know they worked on the brain. So I don't think it's going to be as unsolvable as it might seem initially. And I think that we're in a good situation because we're in a race for it. You know what I mean? Like, anytime there's competition, it breeds success. So I think all these things are going to come to fruition, and it's going to be like a pretty good time for, like, seeing, like, a lot of robots everywhere and all these companies that have them working and doing things. But the compensation was huge, yes, of course. But also, I think that the fab thing, people who do not know, fabs are not something you can build in 10 months, not by a long shot. It doesn't happen like that when it comes to chip fabs. So, like, the fact that he's even thinking about that right now means that he's thinking about, 2030 and beyond, about what they'd have to do to reach the production levels of what they plan to do. And if you were thinking that he's probably not serious, then you have to remember what he said about batteries. And he has been true to the fact on that. He has bought up everything he can possibly buy and everything they can possibly make, and it's still not enough. So you know that when he is saying what he's saying about the chips, that he's serious. And I would not doubt him on any of that. I just think it's just gonna, creating a fab is not easy. Anybody who knows anything about fabs will tell you that that is a huge undertaking. And to make a tera fab.
How long would, like, let's say they knew that they were going to do it. Well, it's pretty clear that they're going to do it. How long would that take to stand up, you think?
It's a minimum 5-year project.
Yeah.
Fabs are insane. Fabs are insane. If you look at Samsung, even Samsung, they have one of the greatest fabs, but they don't go up overnight. It's a 3 to 5 year project, like, just initially.
Yeah, I think that Taylor, Texas plant that Elon is talking about, buying all the production out of, that Samsung is building, has already been under construction for a couple of years. They were starting to pause it because they didn't have a customer, and then Elon stepped in, and then it's still going to take until like 2027 before I think they're really getting any sort of meaningful production out of it. And yeah, I mean, when you think about scale of difficulty, Tesla getting into vertically integrated cell manufacturing was a big deal. That took a long time. Dry battery electrode has definitely taken much longer than expected. And so, like, if they had gone back and done just wet battery electrode, maybe they would be a little bit further down the road with in-house cell production than they are today. But when you think about, like, the difficulty of fabs compared to the difficulty of batteries, there are more big battery companies, which is already a very small, number of companies, than there are big chip fab companies. Like, it's TSMC, by far and away the biggest. Then Samsung is like a distant second. And then Intel has basically fallen off the map as number 3. And in batteries, you got, LG Chem, you've got Samsung, you've got several Korean, big battery companies. You got Japan has Panasonic, and then you have all the Chinese companies as well, CATL, BYD, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, there's significantly more big at scale manufacturing battery companies than big at scale fabs. And it's because fabs are harder than batteries. And so what Elon is talking about doing here is definitely no cakewalk.
Yeah. And I'll say also this, the saving grace in all of this is the fact that the chip design is not like a regular chip design that needs all these things that most chips do. So that might be a saving grace in production timeline for fab, but not really. Fabs are just a huge undertaking. But man,
well, and where are they going to get the lithography equipment for that? You know, like one of the bottlenecks for TSMC and their growth, and really all of them, like if you aren't on the list to get ASML machines already, I don't know when the heck you're going to get them. So like, what is Elon going to do to get that equipment? Is he betting on, you know, there are some new startups that are trying to finally create competitors to ASML, but that's a real high risk bet to make. So yeah, it's
a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. The good thing is that Elon does these type of things because he knows that it'll put a fire under somebody else's butt. And just look where we are right now with, you know, United States battery and litho and anode manufacturing. You know what I mean? Like that took years. He was saying that for years, that we need to be on that. And it took years, but then people started realizing like, oh yeah, we need to make cathode and anode. You know what I mean? We need to produce that here. So, I mean, I think what he's trying to do and people realizing that he has the prowess to pull it off, you know what I mean? No matter how long it takes, even if it took a decade, you know that he will go down the path. I mean, you see it right now with everything he's done. And even though he had bought all those chips from everywhere, and he was still designing his own personal freaking AI chip, it still ended up being like what it ended up being. But yeah, he doesn't bluff. That's one thing about Elon. He is not a bluffer. So he's going to do whatever needs to be done. And yeah, he doesn't like bottlenecks, and he doesn't like people getting in his way. So
one thing that, you know, it's just one thing that came to mind when he was talking about the chip fab and building a factory for that. It just reminded me of like lithium refinery, right? How many quarters and years was he talking about, you know, hey, would love for some people to start doing lithium refinery. And then it's like, well, guess no one's going to do it. So we're going to do it. And as he looks, I think you kind of, Hans, you alluded to it. It's $1 million in production line for robots in Fremont, and then 100 million out of Giga Texas following that. So, you know, as he said, like the biggest bottleneck is going to be, you know, chips. And as we know, even now, right, like with AI, GPUs is the bottleneck. I mean, that's why you're seeing, you know, companies like Amazon lay people off. I mean, they're not laying people off because of AI. It's because they need money for GPUs, right? Because that's how they accelerate their revenue growth. And but all that to say is that at least for me, like what I took away, one thing about the experience of being there was for me, you know, some of this conversations about like the unbox method would just go straight up and over my head, and I didn't really fully understand that. But it wasn't until I did the factory tour yesterday where they had the cyber cab like literally being like on strings in like 4 different you know, in 4 different you know, separated in 4 different major parts of the vehicle. Like it was the 2 sides and then the 2 fronts. And then what they did is they literally rolled it together and boom, you have the cyber cab. And what clicked for me was the fact that they can, and what they said is that they can make them simultaneously, all 4 of them going down the production line, right? In 4 different things. And then at the end, it all comes together. So when you're talking like mass scale, it's just, and you know, I did get to see like the powertrain and, you know, for the Cybercab, and just again, how it looks versus the, you know, Cybertruck powertrain, the Model S and X Plaid powertrains. It's just super cost efficient, you know, so you're literally looking probably for the most efficient cost per mile vehicle ever made and designed and manufactured. And so, you know, Brian, what's up, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? I hope my sound is okay. Yeah, we're just out here living the dream and having fun.
Sounds good. Well, we will get to you in a minute. We'll see how the sound is. Otherwise, it's going to be a little hard. But yeah, I think for me, it was just so the unbox method was huge. The chips that you guys kind of already talked about. And then, in my opinion, like, and I don't know what your guys' take is, but like, I've been thinking about like FSD has literally taken 5 years, and V14 is like been probably the most exciting update that I've had. But the one thing I will say is like, even if these guys can produce, tens of thousands of these cyber cabs, everything's going to come down to regulation and the roads allowing for them to get on the road. So I think that even though they have these the production line set up, I think they're going to be limited by how many they can actually put on the road. And then I would agree
Are
with
you
you.
saying they might have a steering wheel and pedals for that extra
No,
capacity?
I'm just saying, like, production isn't going to be their issue. It's going to be regulation. So they're going to know that, okay, well, we can only I'm making this up, 2,000 in the next 2 months, because that's the amount that Austin's going to allow us to roll out. That's the amount that, the Bay Area and Los Angeles. But, until they get this unsupervised rolled out to, the robotaxis, the drivers out of the seats, it won't matter how many things that they can produce. It's all going to be based on, because New York City is not going to allow 10,000 robotaxis just to roll in, even if they solved autonomy tomorrow, right? It's going to be all regulated, and they're going to limit how many they can do. So I think that's the thing I took. And then one thing I will say is I saw the humanoid robot, like the hand, and it literally looked like a glove. It looked like a human hand, like in every, and that's I feel like, even from the other versions I've seen, it literally, again, I don't know, these weren't teleoperated, right? They're literally all AI just dancing, and it literally looked like a glove, right? So they've literally like done their best to make a human copy, like a copy of the human hand. And it's just crazy to see how much it's just, it's how much it's just progressed. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, all that to say is those were like the big things that I took away. But yeah, Brian, what were your biggest takeaways?
From the whole event, I would say the biggest one is text. I got a text. We got to send some texts. Elon was right. He said, look, people will disengage FSD to send a text message and then re-engage FSD. That's so much more dangerous. If by the end of next month, we can have the ability to not be eyes off the road, but to have, even 30 seconds at a shot instead of 5 seconds, that's going to be a world better than what we have today. The other big thing, I have a lot of questions about chip fabs. I'm going to be talking with a lot of people this week about that because I do not know enough to be confident that that's how that approach would work. And then, yeah, I think in terms of the RoboCab, the CyberCab, and Optimus, those are all exciting targets. The big thing I got was the tour itself was very much very educational. There was a whole lot there for me to look at and figure out. And even though they did their best to hide everything from me, hide everything from all of us, and we couldn't bring cameras, I have enough understanding of what I'm looking at to piece it together. And I tried my best to keep my questions at the civilian level so they wouldn't figure out exactly what I was asking, but they kind of pieced it together. So there's a lot of
Brian's trying to get invited back.
Yeah. I got to keep it. You gotta. They'll give a.
You got to walk a fine line.
You got to walk a fine line. They'll give a complete noob much more information because it's not dangerous in their hands, but a little bit for me is all it takes. So overall, Elon was in a good mood. The crowd was ebullient. It was quite an atmosphere, and we got to learn a lot. And there were, in my opinion, no surprises in the votes.
I thought he was super engaged. I mean, you can just hear like as he has been, for a while, and also too just just laser focused, right? the one other thing too is, yeah, it was crazy. He said like literally, I think 14.3. 14.3 is where you'll be able to sleep and drive. So, you know, we'll see. Like, you know, again, in Elon's mind, he's very optimistic about timelines, right? But the truth is he delivers. It just takes a little bit longer. So, but yeah, I think it's you know, I personally was really happy that the compensation package was, you know, was approved. It's like, let's just get this out of the way, and then hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days we get the approval on the 2018 pay package as well. So yeah, I think, like I said, it was a really cool event. I thought they did a good job. A lot of really cool activations, and you know, really cool experience. Did you guys see the Model Ys driving out as well? Yeah, like that was just seeing two of them. Like I saw, like they were just like rolling out, literally going right in front of um the actual like where the shareholder meeting was. And so some of them had like drivers in them, but for the most part, they were just like rolling off and just going out to the logistics lot. So, but I
The
wasn't sure.
ones I saw on the assembly line, in places there were drivers, but by the time it got to the end, they were absolutely empty. And yeah, you got to watch them roll out the door, go south, go around FSD University where they learn to drive themselves, and past the giant cooling towers. It was pretty. I guess they don't go quite that far. They only go to the tunnel, but still, it was yeah, very exciting for us to see it.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like 14.3, it's such a far ways off when we're looking at 14.1.5, and you know what I mean, like I think he gave that because it's a number and not a timeline, right? Like who knows how long it's going to take them to get to 14.1.6 and 7 and 8 and 9, and you know what I mean, before they even get to 14.2. So I think he gave that smartly enough because he knows that he's not putting the time on it. He's just putting a number on it. But he's absolutely correct in the way people use FSD. A lot of people, especially a lot of the veterans who've been using it for a long time, they know that, okay, I'm not going to get dinged for like looking down for 5 seconds. So they cut it off, do their thing, and then cut it back on. And absolutely unsafe, but it still happens. And guess what? There's people out there who don't even have FSD at all, and they text all the time. So here we are.
I don't know what y'all's experience has been, but I feel like the NAG is significantly less strict on version 14 than it was on version 13. So yeah, I think that's interesting. Like it's already kind of a step towards that, because 13 was crazy. Like just looking down the road to the left when you're trying to turn onto a right turn, it'd be like, hey, look at the road. I'm like, hey, I'm looking at the road. It's right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I will say that Mad Max has gotten to the point, like that's everyone has their own driving style, but for me, I'll read a lot of the reasons I would disengage is because maybe I'm like, I don't have that extra like literally 3 minutes to get to like a practice for the kids, or you know, make an appointment. And so Mad Max has really been just that huge step forward for me, and I have it on both an X and a Cybertruck, and you know, just park to park, it can do everything end to end. There's been, you know, there's some things where it needs to work. One thing that I was talking with, I think it was Onwar Beck. I think the big thing, you know, something that they need to work on it is going to be just sometimes it'll get stuck in these loops. Like when you're trying to go to like a busy area and it's trying to park, it won't go and park further down the street. It just tries to continue to go back around. And so a lot of times you'll have to disengage. But yeah, it was yeah, either way, like I think, you know, Elon was super laser focused. He came out you know, pretty pumped. He danced with the robots, kept his word. So, you know, but yeah, and then I think XAI, that was not there was more votes than for it than against it, but it looks like there's going to be a follow-up for that. And actually I noticed also too that the board did not have a recommendation on it, right? And I think it's just because they're probably trying to stay neutral and like let it be voter led. But you know, we'll see what happens if there's any follow-ups on that. Let's see this next. Joe, Tesla has a new book.
Yeah, I think what he outlined, and I mean, anybody who's been following this company, even if you got in, let's say 4 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, or even were started to pay attention 3 years ago. This is a way different company now than it was then. And you can see a clear path towards a sustainable abundance. Like I think Elon's been burned enough by enough bad actors that he realizes that he just got to do what he's going to do regardless, and you know, let the chips fall where they may. I mean, he is, like you said earlier, laser focused. Like it's pretty incredible to see like the old school Elon. Like this is like sleeping on the floor type Elon. Like he's in such a mode right now that he, you know, he just wants like the best for everyone, and that's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, you don't think about CEOs like that, you know what I mean? Like they don't want the best for everybody everybody around them and the world, you know what I mean? They want the best for their pockets and stuff like that, and this is just like not that type of individual. Like everything he's doing is for like a greater good, you know what I mean, more than himself. And so I think like, yeah, he sees something that not a lot of people see, and he's got some type of crystal ball, man, that we don't have, and it's working.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that stuck out to me, right, is like one of the famous quotes from it is like, you know, I dream of chips. And it's just like, I mean, I just think it's one of those things where, you know, he's, you know, the autopilot team is obviously working on solving FSD. You know, they've obviously even did the in and out drive with the cyber cab, so that signal that this thing is literally coming. It's pretty much probably like they probably put down the, well, they never really put down the pencil when it's coming to the design, right? They're always making changes. But that's the inauguration of like the vehicle like launch pretty much. And so like I just felt like it was just you know, for him, it's like he's thinking as this company grows, like how does he get that $1 trillion package and 25% control of the company? It seems like in his mind, it's going to come down to the demand of the chips, right? Because he's like, I know my teams are going to solve these other things that we're working through, but it's going to come down to we can't buy enough chips, and so how do you unblock that like long term? So, but
yeah, I'll tell you what's stood out to me is like there's a quote by Albert Einstein, and I kept thinking about this every time, like when he would talk about like long-term stuff. And Albert Einstein has a quote that imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge can be limiting, whereas imagination encircles the world. And like Elon, just for as smart as he just still has that childlike wonder and imagination, which enables all these things to happen. And it's just kind of crazy to witness, like while he's just up there, just like rambling on about possibilities for things. And it's like, you just, as much as you would like to dismiss it, you just kind of realize that, man, it's possible. It's not the sum is not zero for the outcome. So it's like, it's pretty wild to think about.
And one thing I would say to all the haters, but also the fans, is can we get over the doubt and skepticism? Because it hasn't worked out for the doubters and skeptics in the past. He's saying that he's going to do some crazy, maybe impossible things, but he said that before, and his companies have managed to pull it off. I saw a lot of skeptics saying, even this week, oh, we put together this model that proves Elon's comp package is not going to pass. And all of us were saying, right, but we're looking at the actual people who hold the actual shares, the institutional investors, the large individual investors, and they're all in favor of it. I don't know where you're getting this, and their skepticism is never rewarded. If you want a company that can do impossible things, I think of precisely one CEO who has that. If you look at the amazing things that are done at NVIDIA, they're incremental. They're big steps in the right direction, but they're incremental. They don't release a product that people say, I don't believe it. That must be fake. You look at catching a booster. I've shown that video to people who say, are you serious? Is that real? I know it's that crazy. So I gotta, at the meeting, Bradford Ferguson looked over at me and said, we know something that all those people don't know. And I said, I know. And I've been telling them to subscribe and they just won't. So I don't know. The skepticism needs to die.
No, they need another 10 to 12 years, man. Like, this is like, it's new for them. So, like in another decade, they could be right. You never know.
Yeah. Well, as they say, don't bet against Elon. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, like, even what Tesla's at $1 billion market cap or whatever the number is today, exactly. Even if they grow, again, the crazy growth story is right, growing to 8 trillion or something. But even if they grow to they grow 4x from here based on some of these initiatives, and again, today the product roadmap looks like AI robotics, but as the world is constantly changing, tomorrow it could be something else. When I started to get my Tesla, I never thought of literally humanoid robots. Like, that was not a thing in 2018. No one was talking about that, even though the product is the
Except
factory.
James Dalma.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, even for myself, yeah, I don't even remember any of those conversations happening blatantly out there. But it seems like, obviously, shout out to James for doing that. But yeah, it's like I said, I think Brian, what you said or what Brad said to you, Brian, was spot on. It's just I think we're blessed to be able to at least see, and because we're further along even in this, because this is as Amazon was a bookstore, and as Apple was an iPhone phone company, or making the iPod or whatever, and how it grew and branched out, right? It's the same thing with Tesla, and they're still at that transition point right now. But they're where they're headed in the next 5 to 10 is just there's no other company that's just has an exciting impact. And it's also too been crazy, like they go from sustainable transportation to sustainable energy to sustainable abundance. It's just it's really crazy how this company has transformed.
Yeah, you look at every 5 years and you can see like things just go a step change different, like orders of magnitude different, like from that 2008, to 2014, like to when you were looking at vehicles that had the self-driving or whatever, that the what was that company, Mobileye, and and then you go to 2018 where you have the Model 3 and you have more, just way more vehicles and everything, and then you go to 2021 and it's like, holy cow, now you got robots introducing and battery packs and all. Every 5 years it's just like, it's not the same company. It hasn't been for a long time, and that's, like you say, like the next 5 years are going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think on the sustainable abundance point, it is, the crazy thing to watch is Elon wrapping his brain around that point specifically, and designing, the combination of Optimus robots in some, end state in the future, plus just basically unlimited compute. He's trying to actually lay the groundwork for, abundance of labor to do physical things and abundance of intelligence to solve intellectual problems. And that's all rolled up into Optimus and chip fabrication, that in some, future state, your ability to deploy robots and data centers is the basis of basically your power, influence, and ability to transform the world to, bend the world to your will. And it's at the scales that he's talking about, it is absolutely world altering. We're talking about creating more labor in less time than the world has ever seen, and creating more problem solving capacity in less time than the world has ever seen. And it's like a step change in the existence of humanity. And it really is the most interesting of times. It'll be chaotic for sure. And it's just insane that we get to be alive at this point in time and witness what is going to happen. And hopefully we end up in the good, version of the potential future that comes about because of all this.
So I'll tell you something I told somebody who said that to me the other day, is I think because we've seen a possible eventual outcome from Cameron in the such or whatever, that I think we have a pretty good understanding of what not to do. So I would like to think that we do not go down that path, because we know where that path leads, you know what I mean? But human factors being human factors and everything. But along the lines of a sustainable abundance, you're looking at a point in history where you're going to be able to have labor off the line faster than birth rates could ever happen. And you're looking at people that need to be born, they need to be raised, they need to grow up with a type of work ethic and get the job and all this stuff. But you're looking at something that's going to roll off the line with a level of intelligence and work aptitude faster than anything in history. And I think like that's what's kind of hard for people to wrap their mind around, is the fact that all this labor is going to be immediate. You know what I mean? These aren't things that have to work up to a certain point. You know what I mean? Like they're going to come off the line able to do a lot of jobs very well right away.
One thing I think that we could say pretty safely from having seen the demos of 2.5 is that even 2.5 is very capable. And if it was another company, they'd be rolling out 2.5 to customers right now, charging whatever they could. But the reason you would want to delay that is because if you start rolling them out, now part of your team has to focus on support while you're developing the next one. Let's not do that. Let's make this as close to perfect, as widely useful and viable as possible, so that way we can actually, when it comes out, it's a real killer product instead of just a pretty good first step. If you look at things like Google Glass, it was ahead of its time. They should have waited. Maybe it would have come across differently, I don't know. There wasn't enough support for it. And sometimes you see that with the tech where they try and rush it out. If X1 actually is released, if that $20,000 robot is actually released, I think it's going to be a disaster. I don't think they have the kind of development that they need. I don't think they're anywhere close to far enough along to actually be selling robots. And it'll hold them back. They're going to spend all their time trying to support the ones they've actually sold rather than developing the one they should have developed in the first place. And Optimus is going to have a lot of use cases from day one. Not everything. When Elon was talking about let it work in the medical field, my thought was, yes, it can't be a surgeon today. It wouldn't even be legal, but it could do triage. And then, okay, so now it can do triage. Can it also do the next step up and the next step up? Just keep leveling up as it's permitted, as it's sufficiently skilled and tested and vetted. It doesn't have to do everything from day one, but it's going to do a lot more than a lot of people think.
Yeah, the fluidity of movement. We need to get Scott Walter or Dr. Know-It-All on the pod, because the movement was impressive when you think about like the dancing that it was doing, like even after just a few months ago. You know what I mean? Like that, the fluidity of the movement was like pretty impressive.
Yeah, the dancing on stage was just like, I was shocked because like again, you look at the bot that they even had running around at Halloween at the Tesla diner. It looked like it did not look comfortable walking. Obviously, with the mask over its face, that could have been issue, but it did not look super comfortable. And even when I look at the diner again that I was on November 1st, the one pouring popcorn, like it literally had to like look at its hand before it like would then take up and put something in, and start scooping. But the dancing was just like it literally looked human-like, and if not better than human in some of those cases. But yeah, and one thing that he also made comments about is how they're kind of like the iPhone. Every year they make a new one. He said that they're going to be making, like they're going to have a new product, like a new robot, literally every year. So, yeah, so it's just, yeah, super, super interesting, to see, especially as they kind of like work to get this right. And then also too, I think it was one of their one of their employees, it was who said that, because they showed the production line in Fremont that they currently have, right? And obviously this is like a prototype one, right? Or whatever you want to call it. They said it will look vastly different and completely like a lot more automation and all this other stuff. So yeah, I think, like I said, I don't know what this will look like as far as, I mean, I think they're targeting mass production end of next year is what I think he said. But yeah, pretty crazy. Brian, I was gonna ask you too, was there any other major things you saw that when you were there that you wanted, like, from being like a boots on the ground, that you wanted to call out?
As a matter of fact, there's a few things. Well, they did their best to hide everything from us, so we couldn't see too much. And of course, they didn't allow cameras or recording, so we couldn't go back and study it. But if you know what you're looking at, maybe you'll see it. So when I was looking at the Cybercab, they showed us the wiring harness. The guide said, "Isn't it? Wow, can you believe how complicated it is?" And we're all looking at it going, "No, that's the simplest wiring harness I could have imagined. It's beautiful, it's elegant." But there were two things that stood out in it. One of them is right in the middle, right in the top, there's a, what we believe is the communication center, the telecoms. So it's probably got a boosted 5G kind of signal, so it can reach farther out, less likely to be stranded. Probably also has some kind of Starlink connectivity in there based on the size of it. And this is going to be the counterpart to what we see today in the rear window of robotaxis. The Model Ys rolling around here in Austin have a added section. We believe it's telecom. It would make sense that you can't have vehicles stranded outside of the coverage area, and in some places coverage is spotty. The second thing we saw with the wiring harness was there were wires that went to each wheel. There were too many wires going to each wheel. What are they for? And based on the gauge of the wire, it is reasonable to conclude that they are for brake-by-wire. Right now, there are none or essentially no vehicles on the market with brake-by-wire. Brembo has been working on it for a number of years, probably 10 years now. It is very reasonable to assume that will be ready in time. And brake-by-wire is a critical element needed for the unboxed production. You can't have any system that runs the full length of the car like hydraulic lines would for brakes. That defeats unboxed. Now, does that mean if it's not ready in time that they can't build it? No, they'd make it work. They'd figure out a way to get the hydraulics going in there, but it would just be kind of a pain. So brake-by-wire, at least from the wiring diagram, is as close to confirmed as possible. And then you've got the last thing on the Cybercab that I was able to see. They showed us the motor, and they said, "Look at how compact it is." And I said, and I got them to, again, admit that it's not going to be geared to go much past 85. And it doesn't need much horsepower because you don't want to be thrown around in your seat by a robot. I said, it's not that small. It's actually quite a bit bigger than I expected. Does this mean it doesn't use the rare earth magnets? Is this the new motor that Elon told us about a year or two ago? And he said, "I'm not allowed to discuss that." So take that as you will.
I'll tell you this also. Brembo was testing the brake-by-wire like 2 years ago, I believe. They had a YouTube video out, and they were testing it on a Model 3. So take that for what you will.
There you go. That's what I needed to hear. So, guys, unfortunately, because I am in a parking lot and I am still in Austin, I'm going to have to cut out early, but I thank you for letting me come on and share the
Yep.
wisdom. Appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, thanks, Brian, for jumping on, especially I know you're hanging out with the probably community members as well. But one thing, Joe, you put this together as well, but it's just like, again, I think we're just starting to see, and I think people don't realize how Tesla, like you think of, how you started with the Roadster, then the Model S and the X, and then you got to the 3 and then the Y. But then it's like, okay, take that and make it even more efficient than you could have ever imagined, right? And again, just seeing that motor that was just, I think it was just crazy to see it like lined up against the other ones. And as you said, it's not going to go over 85 because again, they're trying to make the most utilitarian, cost-effective vehicle that's obviously insanely safe at the same time, right? But you can start to see all of the differences that are happening on the Cybercab, whether it looks like softened edges, it looks like frameless windows as well. And so just seeing them actually, they had, I believe that's probably what they had displayed at the event. It was number 17, so I don't know if that was like, I feel like that was the same one that we saw in Palo Alto, but I don't know if they just removed the license plate and moved it over. But yeah, still pretty crazy to see that, they're just doing a lot of things to make this stuff more efficient.
Well, and I think some of that also is those original mules probably weren't produced with anything even approximating the unboxed process. And so when you've actually got to create all the seams where those individual subassembly modules come together, then that probably is going to look different, on your first generation runs of the actual unboxed process manufacturing versus whatever strange way that you used to, put your models together for the prototypes.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah.
these were all hand built, right? Like they made 20 of these. Freaking, that's pretty crazy to even think about. And they were just doing it from whatever they had, and I mean, who knows? I mean, they did it, and it's pretty impressive that even these 20 have been able to be around and they've been used and everything. That's great. My work phone. That's all funny.
You definitely hear that.
Yeah, it's freaking right next to the mic. But no, it's pretty incredible what they've been able to accomplish making something from hand. Even the semis, I mean, there's no factory for those, and they've got a lot of those out. So like that's pretty awesome. And you saw it with the Optimus line too. And one of the lead engineers from Nat was like, yeah, these are all built by hand, and what we're planning on making for that line is not even close to what this looks like at all. So there's going to be a lot of automation, and once the robots are building the robots, oh man, dude, it's like game over.
Yeah. One sleeper too was the fact that the semi, they released like a new design of the semi, right? So 500 miles of range, 800 kilowatts of drive power, 1.7 kilowatts per mile, and then 1.2 megawatt of charging, which is just crazy. So they've really, but the thing is like what's we went to Giga in Nevada to do that tour, right? As they're building this. And actually, I'm looking at this now. If you look at the design, this looks like the Model Y front. If you look at that, with that's crazy. Yeah, it looks great. So I'm glad that they've updated the design. But one thing that is people forget is obviously there are companies that have these first couple of like prototypes, or not even prototypes, production ones that they're doing. Whether it's PepsiCo, and again, there's a bunch of other companies that are testing, Costco, even just a bunch of them. and then they have their own supply chain that they're running on, and so they've been literally, because this is obviously taken a lot longer to get up to, full production, obviously eventually deciding to make a whole semi factory. But one thing that's been very clear is that they've been able to get an insane amount of data on, the efficiencies of running a whole supply chain. The whole like battery and powertrain units are being driven from Sparks, Nevada, all the way to Reno, and they're doing, hundreds of trucks a day, just going all over the place. So it's just, I think clearly now they're getting ready to go with these. So it was cool. This was kind of like again a hidden gem behind the scenes.
Yeah, and they've reduced the battery pack size on that. It was, I think, roughly 900 kilowatt hours before. So to come down to 800 means they've improved the efficiency, and that, that's a big needle mover as they want to produce these things in volume. That means that they're going to consume a lot fewer batteries, that the weight is lighter, which means the towing capacity is better. Like that constitutes a very significant improvement in the overall design compared to the first generation.
Yeah, they're just always just,
Yeah, I like that design language though.
Yep.
I like the lights and how they kind of made it look like the rest of the vehicles. I mean, that whole front end looks like the rear end of a Model Y. It's so funny.
Yep.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I
looks...
think Bill Gates might be right. I don't think those numbers are possible.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way.
This is vaporware anyways, right?
Except for the ones I see driving down the road all the time.
Those aren't real, dude. They're just like, it's an illusion.
They're just Nikola trucks driving downhill. That's all.
That's all. They're all driving downhill.
Exactly.
In each direction.
So shout out to Tesla Boomer Mama. I think this is actually one thing we could probably start to close on. But so she put together this last year on the 2018 pay package of just like, we stand with Elon. And this was actually, she did a whole voting on this. So shout out to Josh from Josh and Amanda. They took this photo of them at Starbase with, Cybertrucks and the American flag. And it got voted, and it was super cool to see that. But yeah, everyone just signing it and just showing support for all the things that Elon's doing, and really where they're headed. I mean, 75% approval is just an outlandish yes. We want Elon there. So,
well, I mean, like Robin was saying in her opening remarks, like, this isn't really so much as I mean, the media love to make it seem about Elon and the $1 trillion whatever package, but it's really about the shareholders and our investment. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of call to action for like a lot of these other moves that would have put different people in positions that do not have the best interests of the company at heart, and it's just kind of wild that they would even suggest something like that when the whole idea is to make shareholders, feel it like their investment is worth something, and you just don't get that without Elon. I mean, I know people would love for it to be possible, but it's just not possible.
Yeah. Yep. Well, guys, we're at the top of the hour. So thanks for joining us. On this Friday at 12 p.m. for your lunch. If you're on the West Coast, or if you're in Texas, it's 2:00 your time. Well, now close to 3. But yeah, either way, hopefully you feel like if you were not able to be there, that you got some of the inside sneak peeks at some of the things that stuck out to us, whether we were doing the tour or the things that we were seeing and hearing, and then also too just from like the tidbits that we got. So I just want to thank you all for just supporting the beat. Please give Hans and Joe a follow, and obviously Brian as well. Thank you to Joe for doing the deck. But Really just appreciate your guys' time here on, Friday afternoon, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend. And hey, at least we've secured Elon for the next 5 to 10. He's got to, as he says, pull rabbits out of hats now, which he can do. Um, he is a magician. But thank you guys again for viewing this week, and we will catch you guys all next week at the normal day and time. Have a good week, everyone.